Good morning, La Pluma students, and welcome to a new art lesson. Today, our art lesson is inspired by this picture, this painting, by an Indian artist named Amrita Sher-Gil. This is called The Village Scene. She lived in India, and she painted this in 1938. And Amrita Sher-Gil has been compared to Frida Kahlo of Mexico. So she is the most famous, probably the most famous Indian painter from the 1900s, and she is very beloved by her country. So I want you to particularly focus on this seated woman right here. This is the one that we're going to draw today. And let me show you our project. This is my drawing of this seated woman, and she's just resting. She may look a little sad, but I think she's more just pensive and thinking. But I wanted to show you also the steps that I took to get to that point. So first I was just sketching ovals and trying to figure out like the sizes, and so that was my first sketch. Then I sketched a second seated figure, seated woman. And each time I think they got a little bit more accurate, the proportions. Proportions are like the size of the body compared to the size of the leg, compared to the size of the foot, the head. Like you don't want the head to be huge and the body to be tiny. Just trying to make it look realistic. And then this was my last sketch. And then I made our drawing for today. So I wanted to show you my process so that you could see that it takes several attempts to get it exactly the way you want, and I still don't even totally feel like the project is exactly where I want it to be, but I feel like it's part of the process of learning, so it doesn't have to be perfect. We're just attempting a new type of drawing. So we're going to be focusing on this woman right here. And I'd like you to watch this short video that shows you some pictures of Amrita Sher-Gil and some of her artwork. Alright, let's get started on our project, inspired by Amrita Sher-Gil from India. We are going to actually do some lines first, and I think that will help us with the direction of our ovals. So for our first line, I like it, this is going to be, excuse me, the back of the woman, and I would like it just slightly diagonal. So straight up and down would be like this. We're just tilting it a little bit forward. And then once you have that line, and it should take up a good chunk of your paper, we are going to draw an oval around it. So this is the body. Right now, I'm using a pretty dark pencil line, but I would encourage you to use a light pencil line, excuse me, because we are going to be erasing a lot of these guidelines. So there's the first line, our first oval, and now we're going to go to the top part of her leg. So starting at the bottom, just to the right of the oval, I'm going to draw another diagonal line. And this one is a little bit shorter than this line that we did first. So don't draw these lines, but this line ends right here, and this line ends right there. So it's about an inch shorter. Let me erase those so we don't need those lines. And we are going to draw another oval around that line for the top of the leg. All right, now we want her leg to be connected to her body, so we are going to make this part connect down here. This is what she sits on, what we sit on, your sitter. And now let's just do some erasing. I have a better eraser. So I am going to erase that first line that we drew, and I'm going to erase that second line that we drew, and I drew this line down at the bottom to connect them, so I'm going to erase the parts of the oval down there, and I'm going to erase the first oval that overlaps with the second one. So I'm going to keep, actually I don't want that bottom part. I'm going to keep this thinner oval that's the top of the leg, I'm going to keep that, but I erased this line there. So right now it kind of doesn't look like anything, and that's okay. Hopefully it will in a little bit. All right, this is the knee right here. From the top of the knee, let's draw a straight line going straight down. And then we will make that into another oval. This is the knee and the bottom part of the leg. And now that we've drawn that, let's erase this line, the straight line. And let's also erase this part of the circle that we did, or the oval that we did before. We don't need that anymore. And we also don't need this line. So we want the leg to be kind of one continuous shape. So we've got the body, we've got the top of the leg here, and then we've got the bottom of the leg there. At the bottom of this leg, we're going to do a straight line coming out, and this is the foot. And around that, or actually from that line, I'm going to make an oval going up higher, because this is the ground. And so her foot is on the ground, and her seat is on the ground. So I want those to be pretty level. And then we can erase that part of the oval so that the foot is shown completely. All right. We are going to start a little bit below this oval and do a horizontal line going to the space above the knee. This is the arm from the shoulder to the elbow. And I am going to make my oval around that line. So the person is sitting with their arm resting on their knee, sitting on the ground. I'm going to erase this line, and this first oval that I did, I don't need, that's covered up by the arm now. All right, if you guys are hanging in there, this is great. This is definitely a more technical lesson, and it's more challenging, and if yours isn't turning out like you hoped it would, don't worry. This is just a practice, and you saw that even I needed to try several times to get it down. So this is definitely more technical and something that we can keep practicing. It doesn't have to be perfect the first time. Okay, we're missing the head, which is important. She needs that. So we're going to make an oval. I'm not going to do a line this time. I'm just going to do an oval up on top of the body. Yeah, I think that's not quite big enough, so I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. Yeah, I feel better about that. So I'm going to erase my smaller oval because I needed my head to be slightly bigger. Okay, I'm happy with that. All right, we are done with the hardest part, which is drawing this sitting figure, and now we're just going to add details. So because this woman is from India, we're going to put her in the traditional Indian head covering and outfit. So about halfway through the oval, that's her head, we're going to draw a curved line, sort of like a moon shape. And then we're going to come up just a little bit above the head, just a teeny bit, and we're going to make this curved line go all the way down to the ground. And this is her robe, her head covering and her robe. Now I'm going to erase the back of the head, the circle or the oval, and I'm going to erase the back of the woman because now her robe is covering that. All right, she's looking good. And we also need to erase this bottom part of the head because it's covered by her head covering. Okay, her arm has a sleeve that has some design on it. So I'm going to make her sleeve just slightly longer than her robe, just to differentiate it. Here I did it about the same, so I changed it a little bit here. You can decide how long you want her sleeve to be on her arm. And I'm going to make some designs because a lot of times these Indian costumes or traditional dress are so beautiful with designs and patterns. So I did a zigzag, another stripe, and then I'm going to do some dots. All right, I'm going to make her, the bottom of her dress or pants a little bit, I like how it's a little bit wider here and not so narrow like this. So I'm just going to make this a little bit more flowy. Okay, and I'm just going back to doing a little bit more erasing of some of these interior lines that we don't need anymore. All right, and she's looking great. We have our outline. Okay, we're going to give her a nose, and she's very, these women look very relaxed. They look very comfortable together, like they're all very used to spending time together, maybe making dinner together, doing chores, or just talking and hanging out. So we're going to make her nose lower on her face like her head is tilted down. So down here towards the bottom, I'm going to give just a little backwards curve for a little backwards swoop for her nose. And then I'm going to give her a closed eyelid, so a little smile line for her eye. Erase that part of the face because the nose connected to the face. And then we're going to give her some hair. So straight up from the eye, we're going to just do a curved line, and that's her hair kind of peeking out of her head covering. And I think I want to change her chin a little bit here. I'm going to, like this is her mouth, and actually I think it's okay. Yeah, actually I'm going to make a little bit of a chin there. I just felt like it didn't look like she had really a neck. So I just swooped that little tiny part in to give her more of a chin. And I'm going to give her some eyelashes as well. All right, I think she looks beautiful. And now I'm going to take a black marker and I'm just going to outline these main lines that I'm left with. And that will help the erasures not to show as much. Because I have a lot of parts that I erased on her. Just outlining all of these little parts. Her eyelid, her eyelashes, her profile. The profile profile means you're looking from the side, and so we are drawing this woman in profile from the side. Tracing over these designs and patterns, and then I need to give her a foot. And now I'm going to add some detail to the background. In this, it looks like maybe they're sitting in front of a door and a wall, maybe a house. So the background is blurry, it's not focused, so that's what we're going to make our background as well. I'm going to draw the ground here that she's sitting on. And then up from her head, I'm going to draw a straight line, like that's the doorway here. And then that line would continue, we could see, because her leg is up, so we could see the doorway there behind. And then I'm going to make the other side of the door right here. Just a straight vertical line going down. And now we're ready for color. I love how she's wearing this yellow outfit in the picture. So I'm going to stick with yellow for mine. You can choose any color that you want to for your woman's outfit. And we're going to add some shading, but first let's just color this whole piece yellow, or whatever color you choose. Alright. And her sleeve would be yellow, but I'm going to give you some different color on that trim there. Okay, we're going to add some shading, and I'm going to use a brownish color for shading. So on the back of her head, we'd have some shading there going down her back. And underneath her, where she's sitting, would be shaded. And maybe up her leg here a little bit. And this part, there would be a shadow, because her stomach is kind of pressing above her leg. A shadow coming down from her arm onto her leg here. And actually shade down a little bit more there. Okay, I'm liking that. I'm going to come back with my yellow, just fill in a little bit more. Alright. And then I'm going to give her hair a black color, like a really dark brown, but in my portrayal it's going to be black. And then we need to color her skin. We're going to use that same brown that I used for shading a second ago. And I'm just going to lightly shade in her face. So I'm using a lighter touch. And her arm, so her elbow. And her foot, because she's sitting barefoot. Alright, now we have 1, 2, 3, 4 sections left to color. And you can choose any colors that you want to for your background. I like to use the side of the crayon, like we've done in the past. I think it gives it a really cool texture. Plus it's just a lot faster and easier to fill in large spaces. And mine's making sort of a pattern because I'm sitting at a wooden table, which I think is kind of fun too. I'm going to do, if I use blue for that section, I'm going to do black for this right part beside the door. And then the ground, I'm going to make a peach color, because it looks like almost like maybe it's dirt, a dirt floor. And then we just have this last section that continues a little bit underneath her, and I'm going to do that one brown. Again, I'm just using the side of my crayon to get sort of a light texture here on my paper. Oh, and don't forget that little part down there. All right, and there she is. I think she looks beautiful. She's much bigger than my original. Oh, I just realized I forgot to color the trim of her sleeve, so I'm going to add red right here to the trim. And I think they both look really different, but they both look really good too. And so this was a really fun project. Don't be discouraged if it was difficult for you. It's just a fun thing to try and to gain experience with. And thank you guys so much. Bye-bye.